Between 2020 and 2024, the United States Federal Reserve and global central banks did something unprecedented. They printed over $3 trillion out of thin air. We were told this was absolutely necessary. We were told it would save the economy, protect the average worker, and keep small businesses afloat. But fast forward to today, and we are looking at a terrifying mathematical paradox. During that exact same period when the global economy was functionally shut down, when supply chains were broken and main streets were boarded up, something strange happened. The billionaire class added trillions to their net worth. The stock market shattered all-time highs, and institutional funds bought up single-family homes at a record pace. How does wealth explode when the actual economy is shrinking? The media calls it inflation. Politicians call it corporate greed. But both of them are wrong. What you are living through right now is a precise 300-year-old mathematical mechanism. It is not a glitch. The system isn't broken. It is functioning exactly as it was designed to. It is called the Cantillon Effect. And once you understand the raw numbers of how your purchasing power is legally siphoned out of your bank account and handed directly to Wall Street, you will never look at money, the government, or prices the same way again. To understand the greatest wealth transfer in modern history, we have to go back to the early 18th century. Enter Richard Cantillon, an Irish-French economist and banker. Cantillon was living in Paris during one of the first massive financial bubbles in history, the Mississippi Bubble of 1720. The French government, drowning in war debt, essentially handed control of its economy to a man named John Law, who started printing unbacked paper money to pump up the shares of his monopoly trading company. Cantillon watched this happen and noticed a fascinating dynamic about how newly created money flows through society. Back then, money was usually gold and silver. Cantillon realized that when new money is created, whether by mining new gold or a king printing paper notes, it doesn't just magically appear in everyone's pocket at the same time, distributing wealth equally. The new money enters the economy at a specific point. It goes to the king, the wealthy merchants, the bankers, and the political elite first. Because these people get the new money first, they get to spend it while prices in the general economy are still low. They can buy land, businesses, and luxury goods at old prices, using new money. But as that new money slowly circulates through the economy, moving from the bankers, down to the merchants, to the suppliers, and finally down to the farmers and laborers, prices start to rise. Why? Because there is suddenly more money chasing the exact same amount of goods. By the time that newly created money finally reaches the hands of the average worker in the form of a slightly higher wage, the cost of bread, rent, and fuel has already doubled. The people closest to the money printer get richer. The people furthest from the money printer get poorer. This invisible wealth transfer is the Cantillon Effect. Richard Cantillon used this knowledge to make a fortune during the Mississippi Bubble, betting against the system before it collapsed. He wrote down his observations, and then, mysteriously, his house burned down and he disappeared. But his theory survived. And today, it is happening on a scale that would have terrified him. Because today, central banks don't mine gold. They press a button on a computer and create billions of dollars in milliseconds. But they don't put that money into your checking account. When the Federal Reserve prints money, they inject it into the financial system by buying government bonds and mortgage-backed securities from massive commercial banks and financial institutions. Think of the modern economy like a giant dry sponge. If you pour a bucket of water directly into the dead center of that sponge, the center gets completely soaked immediately. It takes time for the water to slowly seep out and reach the outer edges. In our financial system, Wall Street banks, private equity megafunds, and Fortune 500 companies are the center of the sponge. You, the wage earner, are the dry edge. Let's look at the actual data to see how this played out in the 2020s. When interest rates were slashed to near zero and trillions were injected into the banking system, corporations and elite institutions borrowed that newly created money for almost nothing. Did they use it to build new factories? Did they use it to double their employees' salaries or innovate new technologies? No. Instead, in 2024 and 2025, major corporations used that practically free money to execute over $1 trillion in stock buybacks. They borrowed cheap money to buy their own company's stock off the open market. This artificially inflated their share prices and triggered massive multi-million-dollar performance bonuses for their CEOs. They used the money printer to enrich themselves. Meanwhile, mega funds like Blackstone and massive institutional investors realized that with near-zero interest rates, they could borrow billions and buy up hard assets. They targeted single-family homes across the United States. They got the newly printed money first, before the prices of those homes went up. Today, the Housing Affordability Index is hovering near its lowest point in 40 years. The middle class was priced out of the American dream, not by fair competition, but because they were standing at the edge of the sponge, while the funds at the center bought everything up. By the time that newly created liquidity finally trickles down to you, the damage is already done. Let's say that after 2 or 3 years of grinding inflation, your boss finally calls you into the office and gives you a generous 15% raise. You feel slightly richer. You feel like you're getting ahead, but you aren't. Because over that exact same period, the true cost of living, housing, groceries, healthcare, and energy has cumulatively compounded by over 25%. You didn't get a raise. You got a pay cut hidden inside a numerically larger paycheck. Your purchasing power was secretly siphoned away to fund the cheap debt and asset purchases of the entities at the very top of the system. This is why inflation is not just a natural economic cycle or a temporary inconvenience. It is a regressive tax. If the government knocked on your door tomorrow and said, "We are taking 20% of your bank account to give to a hedge fund billionaire so he can buy your neighbor's house," there would be riots in the streets. But through the Cantillon Effect, they execute the exact same wealth transfer invisibly. They print money, dilute the value of the currency you hold, and pump up the value of the assets the wealthy hold. During the massive monetary expansion of the 2020s, the top 1% saw their wealth increase by trillions of dollars. Meanwhile, the bottom 50% of wage earners saw their real, inflation-adjusted wages actually fall. It's a mathematical certainty. So, how do you survive a system that is rigged against you by design? Complaining about grocery prices won't save you. Waiting for politicians to fix the system won't save you, because they are the ones operating the printer. In a fiat currency system designed around the Cantillon Effect, holding your wealth in cash is a guaranteed mathematical loss. Saving money in a traditional bank account used to be considered financial wisdom in the 20th century. Today, it is financial suicide. Your savings are melting like an ice cube in the sun. The only way to survive this system is to change your position in the sponge. You have to transition from being solely a wage earner to being an asset owner. When the money supply expands, the price of hard, scarce assets will automatically reprice higher to absorb the new liquidity. That means owning real estate. It means owning shares of highly profitable businesses. For some, it means holding precious metals or scarce digital assets like Bitcoin. The wealthy do not panic during periods of high inflation, because inflation inflates the value of the assets they already own. If you want to protect your family's future, you have to own the things that the newly printed money is desperately chasing. You have to hold the sponge, not the water that is being diluted. The Cantillon Effect perfectly explains how the financial system silently transfers wealth from the poor to the rich. But it also reveals a terrifying trap that central banks and governments have built for themselves. Because the government itself is now drowning in so much debt, that simply paying the interest on that debt is becoming mathematically impossible without printing even more money. This creates a dangerous feedback loop known as the debt spiral, and that is exactly the mechanism we are breaking down in next week's video. If you want to stop getting played by the system and actually understand how money works behind closed doors, hit the subscribe button. And let me know in the comments, what year did you first truly notice your grocery bill disconnecting from reality? See you next time.